Everyone, it is March the 16th on Read Through the Word, and as often this happens, I sit down and I read again the text before I turn the computer on and I start to teach, and there's new things. I love that God's Word is alive and active, and I love that His Spirit is constantly speaking. So I'm just like giddy inside. I really am. With all the crazy that goes on in my life right now, and with all the just as overwhelmed as I am, and I'm not, everybody's overwhelmed. Everybody has things. I'm not minimizing yours and elevating mine. I'm just saying, in the reality of my life right now, with lots and lots of things going on, He's been so faithful. And my time in Read Through the Word and my time in teaching is such a blessing. So I'm just, this is my little piece of heaven, is teaching with you, or facilitating. I don't really like to say teaching. I like to say facilitating, starting the conversation for our reading today. But we haven't talked a whole lot about idolatry, and that really hasn't been a big thing yet. It's been some mention of it. The laws were written, but it will become a big thing. And as we talked about in a day or two ago, how gracious God is to give them these warnings about the land of plenty and what they should do. And it seems harsh. They should come in and wipe out entire people groups, and that does seem harsh. And again, those are things that we have to tuck under Deuteronomy 29:29. The Lord our God has secrets known to no one, and what? We are not accountable for them. We are, however, accountable for that which He reveals to us. So we'll tuck that away. And even today's lesson uses the word put to death. And I know what that means. Put to death means to physically put to death those that lead us astray. And that's kind of what kind of made me, it took my breath away as I sat down and I started reading. That was the passages after our key verse. So I'm going to unpack that a little bit here in just a second. But the whole idea of God being the one and only, the one and only God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And then the commandments pointing to God, the one and only God. You shall have no other gods before you. Lends itself to this idea of the one and only. Deuteronomy 13:5 says, serve only the Lord your God and fear Him alone. Obey His commandments, listen to His voice, and cling to Him. And then what kind of rocked me as I sat down was the next part in verse, actually I might have put the wrong, I think that was verse 4. I'm sorry, that's 13:4 is the key verse. And then in verse 5, the false prophets or visionaries who try to lead you astray must be put to death. For they encourage rebellion against the Lord your God, who redeemed you from slavery and brought you back out of the land of Egypt. Since they try to lead you astray from the way of the Lord your God. You notice that? I don't know if you highlight, underline, but those phrases that are repeated, highlight those. The Lord your God commanded you to live. You must put them to death. In this way you will purge the evil from among you. So where we know that we can't physically put to death false teachers, we can't physically assault, harm. Let's think of it as a figuratively putting to death those things that lead us astray. Idolatry false teachers, the things that lead us astray and make us cause rebellion to the Lord our God, the one and only. And he gives instructions on how to do that very clearly in verse 4. And I put the King James version of that here just because I just really like it. The New King James, it breaks down these, what I call how to stay true to the one and only steps. You shall, and if you're looking at the old King James, it's ye shall, but you shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him. And so walk after the Lord your God, fear him. Notice again, the Lord your God, fear him, keep his commandments, obey his voice, serve him, and hold close to him, or hold fast to him, depending on, like I said, which translation. New King James says hold fast. So I wanted to break those down. I mean, it's easy to glump them all together, but I wanted us to just piece by piece exactly what that means and how we can hold true to the one and only, because we live in a world that seduces us with its idols. It does. And the idol might look different from everyone, might not be a statue in our house, or a head of lettuce, or whatever. Idols can be good things. They can be our husbands, our children, our family, our job, career, good things. Anything that we put in front of God in our life, elevate above God in our life, is an idol. Anything, even our family. So how do we stay true? How do we avoid idolatry? This is how, right here. We walk after him, which means wherever he leads, we follow. We fear him, and that means showing him the respect that is due him as our creator God and as Yahweh. Show him respect through fearing. I fear more not to obey than to obey something that sounds strange to me, right? That's the kind of fear we're talking about, is I respect you so much that I'm going to follow you even though this doesn't make sense. I would rather err on the side of following you than not. And then, interestingly enough, obey and listen are two different words. Obey means to guard those commands. When you hear them, you defend them to the enemy. You defend them to anyone that might be questioning what you're doing. But this is what God told me to do. Guard them and preserve them and hold them up and esteem them, cherish them. But then he goes on further. He says, then listen to them. So listen to them means to regard and obey. So that obey actually is the word keep. In the Hebrew, it's closer to the word keep. So it interchanges with keep and obey, but it definitely has a different meaning in this text. And then lastly, oh my goodness, I thought of John 15 and abide. This is cling to him. It means remain loyal, steadfast and true, regardless, thick and thin, storms and sunrises and sunsets, whatever it might be. Stay loyal to God. And when we are concentrating on walking with him, fearing him, obeying him, listening to him, clinging to him, we won't have time for idolatry. We won't have time to be distracted because we will be too focused on staying true to the one and only. That's how you avoid idolatry. See you next time on Read Through the Word.